Hi everybody, and Merry Christmas. Mark Davis joining you in the immediate aftermath of our Thursday, December 19th broadcast, a whole lot of which was caught up with the entire Phil Robertson suspended by A&E on Duck Dynasty thing for some comments he made in GQ magazine about his scripturally based views about homosexuality. Are you with me so far? Well, let's take this in a certain progression so that we can know how to reach some type of clarity on this. And again, as Dennis Prager says, clarity more important than agreement. You may agree or disagree with all kinds of things here, but let's be clear about what is and is not going on. First of all, let me tell you what's not going on. A First Amendment issue. Here's some people I love, from Bobby Jindal to Sarah Palin, to Mark Levin, saying, I remember when we used to have a First Amendment. There's no freedom of speech issue here. As the Dixie Chicks and John Rocker and Don Imus have learned, free speech doesn't mean that you can say anything you want without consequences. If I say something, either on the air or out in my private life, that my employer here at Salem does not approve of, there could be consequences, and I'd better know that. The First Amendment is government shutting you down, prodding you away from or towards certain speech against your will. This is a marketplace issue. A&E, the network that makes zillions of dollars off Duck Dynasty because they are a family based on scriptural values, and now suddenly recoils from those scriptural values. They're guilty of a mighty amount of hypocrisy. They have in fact done something despicable here, and they deserve all the blowback, all the backlash, all the boycotts they get, quite frankly. But did they have the right to do this to Phil? Yes, they did. It's their business. They built that, okay? So now let's take that, put that on the shelf, and go to the merit or lack of merit of what they did. So a GQ reporter goes down to talk to Phil and the Robertsons. Now you might think a GQ reporter, this will be a total ambush piece. The guy seems quite taken with the whole deal. I posted the entire thing on Twitter. Follow me at Mark Davis on Twitter, and it's in there somewhere on today's date, the 19th. And but ultimately, when he got around to the business of talking to Phil about sin, and Phil started to talk about homosexuality and various other things, sharing views that you may agree with or disagree with, but they are scriptural views. The same views, by the way, held by, Pope Francis, who's currently in the middle of an enormous love fest in the liberal media. More on that later. But so Phil shares what he views as biblical truths about homosexuality, which he is views he's entitled to hold, and views he is entitled to express. Just as if somebody else comes along on another show, on another network, or the same network and says, you know what? I believe two guys ought to be able to get married and have that be viewed as the legal equal of a man and a woman. We've allowed that, and we should allow that. It's about divergence of opinion, debate, which is what obviously my whole career is about. But here's what's weird. Some network could have a show called Gay Dynasty, which they will now probably do, and it'll follow a bunch of folks around in the gay community wherever, and people will be doing gay things and spreading gay views and talking gay opinions. And if someone watches that and says, you know what, that is wildly divergent from what I believe, our response would be, okay, don't watch the show. That's called tolerance. Where is the tolerance for Phil Robertson? Where is the tolerance for people with a scriptural view on this subject? And again, please understand, this has nothing to do with what you think about homosexuality, what I think about homosexuality. This has to do with a certain consistency. The people who will wag their fingers and scold us about tolerance, we are supposed to be tolerant of whatever the next social whim might be, because it's all about tolerance. And by the way, I agree. I'm all in for that. That's fine. But where is the tolerance for people of faith? Where is the tolerance for Phil Robertson's scriptural basis for his view about homosexuality? The folks at GLAAD and other hate-filled pressure groups don't have to like it. They don't have to agree with it. A&E doesn't have to agree with it. In fact, if I'm A&E, you know what I say? It's the disclaimer you've heard forever. Views expressed by people on our shows, even when on their own personal private time, do not necessarily reflect the views of A&E. And when these pressure hate groups started bugging A&E, or which they surely would have done if they hadn't suspended Phil, they should have said, look, we understand your view. This is a show about a family in Louisiana and rich rednecks blowing stuff up. They may share views on their free time that we may or may not agree with, but we're not going to muzzle them. Thank you very much for calling. That's how that should have gone, but it didn't. A&E chose to silence, chose to suspend Phil Robertson, and now they're going to get their you-know-what's kicked for it, and they deserve it. So what happens now? A lot of calls this morning, people said they ought to just walk off the show. Well, I don't know. Do you burn the whole thing down for this? I would hope that there's a way for Willie and Jace and Jep and their respective wives and Uncle Si. Probably ought to keep Si out of this. I hope there's a way for them to make clear that they stand with Phil. That's the big hashtag, by the way. Hashtag stand with Phil. Check it out. That they stand with him without wishing to spread discord with the organization that is the purveyor of their show. I think there's a way to walk that line, and we'll just sort of see where it all goes. Hey, listen, I hope in terms of how things go, I hope the holidays are great for you. Christmas and New Year's, this is the last one of these you'll see from me in 2013. So as we used to say, walking out in 6th grade, see you next year. Have a fantastic and blessed Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and thank you for just another incredible year of success and prosperity and great shows here on 660 AM The Answer. We'll see you in 2014 with oh man, if you thought 2013 was something, whew, I get tingly thinking about 2014, so let's ride through it together, okay? Mark Davis, thanks. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. See you soon.